So I hear you have a spicy opinion. Let's fight about it. Hey Fragrance family, I'm Dave and I'm a fragrance bro, of course your best source for everything fragrance related. Today, I'm talking about your spicy opinions. I'm gonna bring your spicy opinions, your hottest heat, and I'm gonna debate them, I'm gonna talk about them, and we're just gonna have a fun time spilling the tea. Now this is an ongoing series. If you wanna see more, go up here and I'll have more up there. Recently, I put a poll out on YouTube and Instagram asking people for their input, for their spicy opinions. Got a lot of responses. And on my previous video, I had a lot of responses too. So I'm gonna split this up into a few different videos and we're just gonna have some fun. All right, let's jump into it. First comment is from svasquez.7. And he says, Citizen Jack Absolute smells like the cheapest hairspray you can get. And hold on. I recently did a video about Citizen Jack. Let me see here. How dare you? How dare you? It easily smells like an expensive hairspray, sir. All right, next comment comes from Fragrances as Art on Instagram. Definitely go and check out his Instagram page. Really like it a lot. And he says, many frag heads are hoping their collection will make them feel fulfilled. It won't. That is totally true. At least that it won't fulfill people. I don't know how people feel about their collections trying to give them fulfillment. Maybe he's seen it more than I have. I have not seen it. I've usually seen just people just liking the hobby or using it as a way to express themselves or various other ways that people would use a fragrance. But I agree, these are just things. These are not gonna give you fulfillment in any considerable way at all. These are just things that are gonna disappear throughout the day, literally. They are just there for the moment. It's just a material possession. It's not gonna do anything for you. Next comment is from Tim Rayfeld, I believe that's how you say it, on Instagram. He said, Creed is absolutely overrated and overpriced. My gosh, Tim, what are you doing to me? Tim, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you here. Creed is one of those players that they are really polarizing for a lot of different reasons, but I don't think that their scents are necessarily the polarizing part of their presentation. I think that their scents are generally good, but I don't think I've smelled anything from them that's been bad. I think they have a really good line of fragrances that appeal to a lot of people. They're great with fresh scents, and I think they do a really good job at what they do. Now, are they overpriced? Again, I'm not really sure about that either. Saying something is overpriced is a little bit difficult to quantify. You know, fragrances in general are a luxury item. What I would say about Creed is that their price point is very specific. They're going after a price point that excludes a large number of people from having their fragrances. So if you have a Creed fragrance, you're joining essentially kind of a small community of people or a club, essentially. That, I think, is their whole mystique. You know, that they give these fragrances to kings and princes and queens and elites and actors and all these different people. They're essentially promoting something that is an elite type of fragrance experience. If they're overpriced or if they're not, really just depends on what you're comfortable with spending, I guess. I don't know if I would necessarily buy Creed at full price in the department store, but especially on aftermarket prices, to me, I think they're fair. And speaking of Creed, if you're looking for a Creed fragrance, I definitely recommend getting it from FragranceX.com. They sell thousands of legitimate fragrances at a discounted cost. I've bought stuff from them before, and I really highly recommend them. They're the sponsor of today's video. I'll have a link down below to them as well as a coupon, but also check out Rakuten.com. Rakuten is a website that offers you a rebate for every purchase that you make through their website. They actually have a deal with Fragrance X, and you can get a certain percentage off your product just by buying through Rakuten. So I'll have a link down below to them as well. Definitely check out Fragrance X and Rakuten together. Great. All right, Scented Adventure on Instagram says, Bentley for men intense. You know, the Bentley fragrances, they have not impressed me at all. I think they're okay. What is it about these really luxurious car manufacturers that make fragrances that are really generic? I have no idea. Why is that? Why can't they make a fragrance line that is really expensive and luxurious? I don't know how they can't do that. But I don't remember what Bentley for Men Intense smells like. From my past experiences with Bentley, I would be inclined to agree with you. All right, let's move on to some YouTube comments here. The first one goes to Fall Guy. Oh, my favorite type of guy, Fall Guy. Your name screams fall. Fall Guy says that Jeremy Fragrance should be escorted out of the fragrance community in a straitjacket. not going to get much disagreement with me on this one. I do not know what is going on with his fragrance channel. It has just become a dumpster fire. All right, next comment is from Professor X on YouTube, and he says, despite fragrances that are gems versus what is junk to us as subjective, I believe that we as a fragrance community need to unite together and hold a majority of these fragrance companies responsible for the garbage they put out. It's time we, the fragrance community, tell these companies that we have had enough of their lazy, mundane efforts. Woo! Professor X! Man, that's some heat, bro. So I agree to a certain point. I don't necessarily think that the companies are taking the words of the reviewer and considering them valuable input necessarily. I mean, I think they are to a certain point. I think what they're more interested in is what is their clientele, their audience, their consumers. What are they doing with the fragrance? What do the sales look like? What are they saying about it? I think that if they make a fragrance that we think is, in the fragrance community, that we think is mundane, or if we see it as a critical flop, but yet they're making a lot of sales from it, I don't necessarily think that they would take the criticisms from the fragrance community and say, oh, we need to change because we need to make it a critical success and a sales success. I mean, they're a company. They have to do what they think is right and what is financially, fiscally responsible for them to do. I want fragrance companies to take risks. However, I don't want a fragrance company to go away too. If they can make something that is mundane, but yet is wildly popular, if they do that, but then they also cater to the real sincere fragrance heads that really want something that is unique or avant-garde or pushes the envelope, if that mundane type of release pays for the more avant-garde release, then I see that as a win for both camps. Now, I don't necessarily know if companies are thinking that way or if they're doing that way. I hope they would be doing that, but that's how I'm kind of optimistically viewing these mundane releases. I think in general, the state of the mainstream world with their fragrances has gotten really stale because a lot of them are just trying to churn out the next hit. It's become something of a graveyard of fragrances where they have just these fragrances that all smell the same, they all die within a year, and it's become kind of just a mess. And I think that any consumer should hold a company accountable. And if we're in the fragrance community, I think that if we're voting with our dollar, that's one way of doing it. Next comment is from Namo730 on YouTube, and he says, you do not need a big collection of fragrances. With a few bottles, you will smell good every time you wear them. Namo, you're exactly right. Totally agree with you there. You're totally right. You don't need a lot of fragrances. A lot of times one question is, how many fragrances do you need? And I say, you can just do it with one. I mean, if you have one fragrance, I think that's enough. But I generally say, have 2 or 3 as a starting point. And if you like it past that, go wild if you want to go wild. But you don't need a lot of fragrances. I think the thing with buying a lot of fragrances has maybe been perpetuated by reviewers who get a lot of fragrances as part of reviewing. Maybe they buy some, or maybe they're gifted some for review. I think fewer is better, even for me. I have fragrances that I rarely use. I think my core collection is about 30 to 40 fragrances, and that's way too many for me. I think if I were to have maybe 10, that would be probably my sweet spot. And even then, I think that's way too many for most people. So you don't need a lot of fragrances. You just need a few. Go for fragrances that you think are some that you really love. Maybe they're good multitaskers for certain seasons or occasions. Go with those type of fragrances and just stick with those. You don't need a lot, just a couple. Next comment is by Carl Moralski of the channel Carl Moralski, and he said on YouTube, he says, the cut tab is horrible and should be removed from the next version of Resolve. Carl, how dare you? You know what? No. Carl Moralski, canceled. Carl Moralski, officially, today, we're canceling Carl Moralski. The cut tab on Resolve, on Davinci Resolve, is brilliant. How could you not like the tasteful cutting of Davinci Resolve on the cut tab? The tasteful cutting of Davinci Resolve on the cut tab. It's like heaven. All right, I have more comments coming up, so stay tuned for my next video where I have even more controversial, spicy topics. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching this video. What do you think? What are your spicy comments? What are your spicy, controversial hot takes? Let me know down in the comments. I will fight you. Thanks again for watching. I'm Dave with Fragrance Bros. Bye.